That's when I make a beeline for the tree line. That's when I make a beeline for the tree line.
What's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Animation Station. I'm just a fan of the animation, including TV and movies, and as well as a sponge that lives in the pineapple under the sea. I'm your host, Jackson Small. Welcome back to SpongeBob Month Chapter 6. Today we have 2 more episodes to review, and neither of them are bad, thankfully. And those episodes are House Fancy and Krabby Road. You guys know how it works by now. I already did a long preamble in the last review, so from here on out, we're just going to jump right into it. So let's not waste any more time and start with House Fancy. Yeah, I know that this is one of the most infamous episodes in all of SpongeBob, and I can't say I don't see why, but rewatching it again, it's not an absolute dumpster fire, like I thought initially, and like most have thought initially. If you take out that one horrific scene that we'll talk about, the episode itself is fine. It's a fine, basic episode. But that one scene is so horrifying, and we will talk about it. So, in this episode, Squilliam is showing off his house on a show called House Fancy, which apparently is Squidward's favorite show, and he's pretty much gloating for half of the episode. And then Squidward tells the host, Nicholas, I don't remember his whole name, nor do I care to, that he has a fancier house, so they're going to be over there in 2 hours, and he wants to fancy the place up. And then SpongeBob's in the picture because, well, I mean, he was openly spying on him. And then it just goes from there. It's your usual Squidward torture episode. I would say the other word, but I don't want to get demonetized, so we're just going to call it a Squidward torture episode. But what's nice about this one is that, again, Squidward gets to win for once, just like in Suction Cup Symphony. I don't think this episode's nearly as amazing as that episode, but the episode itself is fine. It has a decent setup. I do like how it's Squilliam versus Squidward again, calling back to Band Geeks. And I do really like the ending. I do really like the ending where they give fanciness a different kind of definition. Kind of in a way of, the old saying, the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Yeah, it kind of works like that in the ending, and it's actually a pretty nice ending. And again, Squidward gets to win for once, which, yeah, that's going to become rarer and rarer as we go deeper and deeper down the worst of this season, and especially the worst of next season. Oh boy, I'm not mentally ready for season 7. Oh boy. But that doesn't mean that this episode doesn't have its moments of cringe, especially the toenail scene. I'm not going to put it on screen because I don't want to horrify you or give you PTSD, but yeah, that scene was needlessly gruesome. Look, I don't mind having gruesomeness in SpongeBob. It was even gruesomeness all the way back in the golden ages of SpongeBob, the first 4 seasons. But here's how I see it. If you can make it work in the terms of the actual story, or it actually makes sense in that context, it's fine. But if it's just there for shock value, Family Guy, then it is not okay. It is absolutely not okay if you just use a scene like that for shock value. And in this scene, we have Squidward getting his toenail ripped out by SpongeBob's stupidity. Because, yeah, this is Flanderized Pal for Gary SpongeBob that we're dealing with here. And it is bad. It is very bad. And he is annoying. He is unbelievably stupid and boneheaded, even more than Patrick, who is in this episode for one decent joke. And then it gets to the ending, and that's pretty much the episode. It's SpongeBob acting stupid and ripping out Squidward's toenail, then through weird circumstances and going back to the phrase of beauty's in the eye of the beholder, Squidward wins in the end and has the fanciest house. And Squilliam takes an L, which, yeah, nice to see. Now, highlight for the episode, honestly, the only thing I remember about this episode, even before I rewatched it, is the gilded doorknob. Now, it shouldn't be funny because it's just, a gilded doorknob. But what makes it funny is that it's just sticking out of the wall in a random place. Now, yes, it is a little bit creepy how the host, Nicholas, has a weird fascination with this doorknob. I'm not going to say any other word than fascination because I don't want to get demonetized, but it's so random and weird. Not to mention they bring it back around later with Squilliam making a whole sculpture of his unibrow out of these doorknobs. So, like, it's the most memorable part of the episode for me because it's so random, but it's also just so funny. Like, what other show can you say has a doorknob and a wall that does nothing but sit there and look pretty? But that's pretty much the episode. It's okay. It's very average. SpongeBob's very annoying and being, post-movie flanderized stupid SpongeBob. But there's a few decent jokes. Squidward gets to win in the end, and it does have a pretty good concept. And it starts out okay. But again, the toenail scene, SpongeBob being flanderized, and some pretty bad writing in the second half definitely keeps it from being able to be anything more than average. So, because that final verdict of the episode is a 5 out of 10. It is an okay episode, but I don't actively seek it out when I'm rewatching the season unless I'm doing it for a review show like I am right now. Okay, now let's get to the episode that you guys are more than likely waiting to hear about because it's the actual great one of these two. Krabby Road. It's another one of those episodes that has already been praised by a lot of people, so it's going to be a little hard for me to really add anything here. But I will say this, it is one of the only episodes of this season that I remember watching as a kid, because it was around this time I stopped watching SpongeBob altogether. Out of a lack of interest and just wanting to do other things. And also because I was starting to become more into anime by this point, so SpongeBob wasn't really appealing to me as much as it used to. But that being said, that doesn't mean I didn't see any of these Season 6 episodes as a kid, because this is definitely one of them. And it's an episode that I really do love. This is a great episode, undoubtedly. Sure, it's simple. Sure, it goes back to Plankton trying to steal the formula through Zany Scheme X shtick. But a lot like, what was that other episode? Spongekiss, it actually has some really good creativity to it. Whereas with Spongekiss, it was to create a Roman Colosseum and using his own ideas. Here, Plankton comes up with the idea by talking with SpongeBob, to create a rock band as an excuse to get into the Krusty Krab. So not only do we get to see SpongeBob and friends in rock outfits again, which I don't think we've seen it since Born to be Wild when they were in biker jackets, but it's also just so cool seeing this band form. Like, you have SpongeBob with an afro, you have Patrick with something we're going to talk about later because it's a highlight of the episode. And of course, you get buff Squidward. And I'm surprised that this did not become a meme like Handsome Squidward did back in Season 5. But, yeah. It's a pretty great episode. So in this episode, Plankton sneaks out of prison, but then immediately gets kicked out of the chum bucket by Karen. And while he's reminiscing about the days of playing his old guitar when he was a little kid, that's when SpongeBob comes into the plot, and he's singing a Krabby Patty song. And Plankton immediately gets the idea of using this as a ruse to trick SpongeBob into telling him the secret Krabby Patty formula. Now this goes about as well as you expect it to, and then Patrick joins in, and then Squidward gets convinced to join in, only after he does a lot of exercise and works out and becomes big and buff. And then, of course, it goes about as you expected. Like, there are a few close calls, as per usual, but Plankton is exposed in the end, and he goes back to prison. There are a lot of highlights in this episode, but let's start with what is obviously the most well-known part of this episode, the part that actually became a meme. I play a mean belly! Just Patrick using his belly as a drum. Like, it should not be funny, but it's also so surprisingly clever and creative that it can't help but be funny. The do 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 do. It's funny seeing him play his belly as a drum using his head and his arms. It's really cool. Like, that part, it's definitely one of the highlights of the episode, and it's the one part of the episode that did become a meme. Then you have the other part where we finally get to see all the gang together for the first time in full outfits and everything. And it is just a super cool image. Not to mention, it's also a pretty good visual gag where Plankton convinces SpongeBob to hide him from the police, and he hides as a booger in SpongeBob's nose. Like, it should not be funny, and it's definitely lowbrow, gross-out humor, but it's done in a way where it's actually creative and funny. So I will give it a pass. Like, here's the thing with lowbrow humor. If you're able to make it work and actually make it funny by actually doing something different than just, lowbrow for the sake of lowbrow, then I'm willing to give you a little bit of a leeway. But if you're just lowbrow for the sake of being lowbrow, despicable me. You're not getting a pass. But this part is pretty good, and I do like seeing all of them together, especially Big Buff Squidward with a giant skull t-shirt. Like, dude, that's so cool. And then the final highlight is definitely the finale. When Plankton, originally he was just in a normal prison cell like any other inmate. I mean, stupid on the police's part, but I mean, the Bikini Bottom police throughout modern SpongeBob are always stupid, so it's not out of the ordinary. And then when he gets thrown back in jail later, they actually use their smarts and create a new cell for him. In a way, it's his version of solitary confinement, because he gets thrown into a tiny little safe in a wall hidden behind a painting. And it just has itty-bitty bars sticking out to let him look out the window. Like, that is a really creative and cool little prison cell that I wish we saw more of in this show, but since this show doesn't really follow a continuity, and I refuse to accept that it does follow any continuity because it clearly doesn't, it's not going to come back. Shame. It's actually pretty creative, and it's also a way, I think, homaging to like the old spy movies where you always have something hidden in a safe that's hidden in plain view because it's behind like a painting or a picture. Like, really cool. Really cool design. And then, of course, it ends with Plankton having to listen to his band that he formed himself performing day and night for their next gig as soon as he gets out of prison. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about this episode. It's unique, it's funny, it's creative, it takes a basic template and manages to make something great out of it. I love the rock music aesthetic. I think there's a lot of really good jokes in the episode. Has a great ending. It's just a great episode. I've always loved and enjoyed this one, especially now, since more than ever, I am now a metalhead, so I definitely love it when shows like this have a rock or metal aesthetic for an episode. And I think it does it really well here. Is it as great as Born to Be Wild from Season 4? Probably not, but that episode's in its own category of just awesome, so yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say about Krabby Road. It's a great episode. We all know it's a great episode, and that's why the final verdict for the episode is a 9 out of 10. If it weren't for the fact that it follows the same template as per usual, Plankton trying to steal the formula, this would definitely be a 10. It has potential to be a 10, and it's easily one of the highlights of the season for me. Absolutely friggin' love this episode. And, to put it in the cringiest way possible, it's a headbanging good time! Sorry. I'm cheesy, but I try to have fun here on set of Animation Station, so you're going to get cheesiness every now and then. Just deal with it. If you can deal with the cheesiness in the show, you can deal with the cheesiness in my reviewing show, okay? Okay, time for final thoughts. No rankings this time, because only one of them is actually good. Alrighty. Once again, second episode review in a row of the month, and we haven't hit a bad episode yet. That is pretty nice and refreshing, to say the least. So that means we're starting off decently before we have to descend into the pits of hell. So, thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more super sponge-tastic videos like this almost every single day. Stay tuned, because I'm going to have to delay the Aquatic Neptune SpongeBob reaction to another time, because I gotta go somewhere again. So, family stuff. So, unfortunately, I cannot do that today, but I can promise you, you will be getting an Aquatic Neptune reaction tomorrow. Iron Bear and Snowflake, as per requested. And as well as the next episode review, which is Penny Foolish and Nautical Novice. And one of them's bad, unfortunately, so yeah, no dodging it any longer. Next time we have to talk about a bad episode. But it's only one bad episode, and then the other episode's actually decent, so it shouldn't be too bad. But until we meet again, I'm Jat Small of Amateur Station. Have a super sponge-tastic day, and I'll see you next time. Peace.
We cannot take it anymore. The time is going.